I'm Lauren Thomas, Continuous Improvement Manager at E3 Alliance. And today we're going to have a very wonderful presentation. I'm about to introduce our presenter, but just a heads up that at the very end of this breakout session, I will be asking for one volunteer who would love to share sort of their main takeaway and their highlights. It's just a quick 1-minute ask. So just know that I will be looking for that at the end. But today we have a real treat for you. Our presenter's years of experience as a teacher and an administrator across Central Texas has really shaped how she inspires and supports building leadership in others, from the students to the teachers and her fellow administrators. She's been proudly serving at Lockhart ISD for the past 6 years. And just back from another conference, I am very pleased to introduce Kimberly Raymond, Deputy Superintendent of Lockhart ISD.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's certainly a pleasure of mine to be able to present to you this morning. I just do want to say, please feel free to jump in here and ask any questions, or if anything is not clear or does not make sense. I am a teacher at heart, and we all know that the idea of just everyone politely raising their hand and waiting to be called on doesn't normally happen in a classroom, and so I am fine with that as well. So feel free to jump in here and just as we go along, as I'm presenting, happy to answer any questions that you have, and certainly share anything that I have. So I wanted to spend just a couple minutes talking about Lockhart, just ISD, so you have an idea of the district and what we've been able to accomplish over the past couple of years. We do, our hashtag is Lockhart Leading. We do believe that we are growing a district of leaders. And so that is something that is very near and dear to our hearts. Just to give you a little information about Lockhart, we have actually a little over 6,200 students right now. So we did lose some students during the pandemic, and we are seeing that we are starting to get those students back. And so we're super pleased with that. A little bit, it just shows you we're 300 square miles. We have 9 campuses. And our growth in ELLs has been 349%. So that's been something, that since 2011. So that's been something that we've really had to focus on. The demographics of our district has changed significantly. We have a little over 800 employees now. And so, we are a small to mid-sized district in the state of Texas. A little bit about our demographics. You can see there, we are 78% economically disadvantaged. And so we are very much focused on how to support the needs of those kids in our district. I was listening to some of that data that was presented earlier, and certainly we are we would agree with that significantly. It's what we're seeing as well. Because of that, we do have this culture of high expectations, and we have a mantra that we grow all of our students 1.5. That's our goal. We want to grow them 1.5 years, not just a year, because we already know that the statistics are telling us that when they walk into our district, they are behind. And so we want to make sure that when they walk out of our district, that they are ready, that they're ready to go to college, that they're taking advanced math in junior high. And so we know all of those predictors, and so it's super important to us. This is something that we launched 2 years ago. And when I talk about the fact that, the importance of really everyone being able to be a leader. So this is what we call our leadership definition, or when we launched it 2 years ago, we called it our leadership definition. And when we launched it, we actually, it was, in the middle of the pandemic or at the beginning of the pandemic, and we thought, is this really a good time? And I have to tell you that, I know many of you have strong missions and your culture, you're super focused on that in your districts and in your schools. But this is something that really has gotten us through the past 2 years and has kept, or 3 years now, I guess it is, and has kept us really focused and continuing to do the important work, because we've been able to make sure that in every decision that we do, we have a Lockhart for people, that we are locked on excellence, that we're going to hold ourselves to high expectations, and we're going to hold our students, our community to that. And then we cannot forget the importance of unlocking the potential in everyone, including ourselves. People say all the time that, your people will leave bosses. They won't leave an environment where they feel like that they're making a difference and they're being successful. And so that is super important to us, especially during the pandemic. So this was a piece of data that we received in 2018 that was very shocking for us. And we knew that we had to do something immediately about this. So our teacher turnover rate was 24%. For those of you that don't know, back in 2018, the state average was 16%. So we were well above the state average. The number of our teachers that were 0 to 5 years was about 64% in the district. And so that is the time, the energy that it takes to really be able to grow, to onboard and grow our teachers was something that was very difficult for us. We were starting over every year, and this had been this trend. We had seen this trend for the previous 3 years, and so we realized that we had to do something about this. And the reason we knew that, and it's only gotten worse, right? Like, I pulled this data, and sorry, this slide doesn't look as pretty now on this screen. I'm not sure what you can see, but this is recent data from Raise Your Hand, Texas. Like, there's a teacher shortage, right? Like, we are hearing that. It is true. You can see that, even back in 2017, 18, like, your shortages were in elementary and secondary special education. And now there's almost shortages in every area. And so this is something that as well, not only for us, like, we can't keep losing that many teachers because there's no one to pull from, right? So this was super significant to us. As well as the teacher retention rate among first-year teachers is awful. Again, this is the latest data from Raise Your Hand, Texas, just was released the other day. Like, this is what we're seeing this in Lockhart, and the pandemic has even exacerbated that, more. This was something that we knew, and I actually don't like where I put this slide, so I apologize. And I'm going to reference this slide a little bit later, but like, if you don't have a strong, new teacher program, then you're going to really struggle to keep teachers. Like, this is why you don't keep first-year teachers, is because it is so hard. And so it's super important for us to make sure that we have programs to really support those new teachers. So we were onboarding, a significant amount of new teachers every year, and we weren't doing a good job of it, and we were losing them. And so that was something that was really difficult. I don't know how many of you have seen this data, but I love this data on effective teachers. The average teacher, the kid comes in at the 50th percentile, they leave at the 50th percentile. If you have a highly ineffective school and an ineffective teacher, that student will get dumber, right? Like, they will lose ground significantly. I mean, they're leaving us at the 3rd percentile. Highly effective schools, and then an ineffective teacher. So a lot of times your first-year teachers are those ineffective teachers, right? And so you can see that data there by Marzano. Highly ineffective school and an effective teacher, then you're going to see some gains. You start to see some gains there. Highly effective schools, highly effective teachers is significant, right? And I don't know if you've ever, those of you that have your own children or your classroom teachers, I had an experience with my child who really struggled in elementary school. He got one teacher in 5th grade at Lakeway Elementary that completely changed his whole trajectory. Graduated from UT in commercial real estate, which, by the way, if you're going to get into commercial real estate, isn't this the time? I still happen to be, he's 24 years old, precious. I have to be on his bank account, which makes me cry every day, because when I open it up and look at it, I'm like, that's 3 times more than I make in the last 3 years, for crying out loud. But I'm happy, but you can see that, that it is a die-hard story. Highly effective school average teacher. Oh, sorry about that. And so just right there, like, we have to make sure that we are, the trend, the data isn't looking good. Teachers are leaving the profession at a higher alarming rate. There's not teachers out there. It has a significant impact on student data. And then on top of all of that, we know that, like, this is to make the difference, we've got to have both of those things, right? We have to have effective teachers, and we have to, and they're not out there. And so we have to really figure out how to grow our own. So again, just to kind of go back to our leadership definition, because this was something that when we launched this work over the past 2 years, it was significant, and we related it directly to our leadership definition so that everyone could see, like, this is the tie, this is our culture, this is where we're coming from. And so that was super important. So again, I mentioned that teacher induction program. We launched this in the 2019-20 school year, 2018-19, 2019-20 school year. And we basically, we got training at Lead Forward. I have a flyer here. I don't know if you've ever been to the Lead Forward teacher induction training. It is significant. In fact, it's so good. We are now ready to in the effort of unlocking the potential, continue to train some others in our district on this, because it's just this good. It's a 3-day training, and we're going to host in Lockhart ISD. So if any of you need help with your induction program for new teachers, I highly recommend this. You can email me and I can give you the information, but we will be hosting this in Lockhart on April the 20th, the 21st, and the 22nd. So I get no kickbacks from Lead Forward at all. I have no affiliation, other than I think that this significantly increased and helped us during this time period, and continues to do so. In fact, this afternoon, we hired 5 new teachers in December for this spring semester. And so we are doing kind of like a mini launch with them, based on this training. The other part of that training, so it's definitely, there's the district level. We're going to support them. We give them release time for 6 days that we bring them in, and we make sure that it's just in time training, like just what you need. Like at the beginning of the year, I'm not going to go over standards with you, because if you're a brand new teacher, you don't need to know about standards right then. Like, you definitely need to know the standards, don't get me wrong, but you need to know how to launch your classroom, right? How to start handling, like, all of your processes and your procedures. But I'm going to bring you back at the beginning of October, and that's when we're going to teach you and make sure that you really know the standards, and that we help you be able to navigate those. So again, it's that just-in-time training that we focus it on that model that I showed you earlier about, that delusionment, when the anticipation, all of that. And so we're super focused on that. But we can't do it alone at the district level. So our campuses also have to have a very strong program. And they're having, monthly campus activities on their campus as well. And we train our administrators on that. It's a really good way to unlock the potential in our assistant principals, to really have them align with those new teachers. Many of them have like weekly check-ins with them. They're giving them, like little gifts to, like, thinking about you, like, what do you need? Again, we're just being very strategic about how we're launching that and how we're supporting our brand new teachers. And then we have to make sure that they have strong mentors. And so this is something that not only did we launch this program for our new teachers, but we also at the same time couple that with this mentor. And this 3-day training through Lead Forward also gives you what you need to be able to do this with your mentors. So we implemented that mentor program. We created a mentor handbook providing them expectations. They have, I don't know if I put it in here, that mentor training has a monthly checklist that they know, like, these are the things that I have to go over with my mentor every month, or with my mentee every month. You know, they have to, like, on one of their conference periods, go in and give them feedback. They arrange for the mentee to come in and observe them. But also just in those monthly checklists, it really says, like, these are the things, like, don't go over grades until the end of September, right? Like, you don't need to know about, like, making sure that you have your progress reports and how to do all of that until you know, that second week of September. And so we're super specific about outlining when they're going to do that. I'm going to pause for a second because I feel like I've rattled a lot of stuff off. Are there any questions about the mentor program, the teacher induction program, the lead forward training that anybody has before I move on?
Kim, I assume lead forward has nothing to do with leap forward, two very different organizations, right?
Yeah, this is the lead forward that actually does a lot of the, like, the data, you know, all the data that they pull and stuff. They just have this whole other portion of it. Debbie Boyer, leads this. And it is just all about new teachers. But it is a very hands-on training. You basically can take this and come in and like roll out a program right away. And we chose 6 days that we pull our new teachers in. We do, you know, a day in August, like a day in September, and a day in October, a day in November. So we front load, and then we do, you know, 2 additional days in the spring. So, like, I have 2 days coming up, you know, in the next month. And again, the reason we do that is because we know, like, that October, November timeframe, they dip significantly. And so we need to make sure that all hands are on deck to provide them that support. So super heavy the first year. And then we do have a second year that we also do that, we do 3 days that we bring them in. And so that's been very successful. And I'll show you some data on that in just a little bit.
Yeah, Kimberly, we have a question from Marcia in the chat. Can you speak to your retention rates now after mission alignment, teacher training, et cetera?
So yeah, Marcia, it's going to be a variant slide. So when I show that at the end, act surprised, but I'm happy to go ahead and give the cliffhanger. So yeah, we went down to 13% the next year. So now I'm going to show you some other things that we implemented at that time too, that I think also had, but with new teacher. So 2021 data went up to, you know, we had a turnover rate of about 16%. So it went from 13 to 16, but we also know COVID happened during that time, right? I think a lot of people's, I haven't seen the new state average, but you know, everyone's went up again, but ours was not, it did not go up where, I mean, it was higher than the 13, but not at the 24. And our new teachers stayed. So our new teacher turnover rate was about 6%. So I do think that this was significant. I will say that, you know, we've had every year we have to tweak some of our mentors. So I give a stipend of $1,000 for our mentors. We do 500 at December and 500 in May, because there's been some mentors in December that we meet with our new teachers and say, how's your mentor relationship going? And when it's not going well, we're not afraid to make that change. And there could be many reasons for that, right? It could just be that it's not a good fit. But we're not just going to keep going to keep going. We've had those hard conversations that said, hey, the feedback that we're getting from your mentee is that this relationship isn't working. And so we're going to make some changes to that. And we say that from the very beginning. We don't want the mentors spinning their wheels and wasting their time if it's not working, because it's kind of like when you tell a kid, like, oh, you're doing such a good job, and they know they're not doing a good job. Our mentors know if it's not working too. And so, you know, we're going to be completely transparent and open about this, but our goal is to have effective teachers and to keep our teachers. And so to be able to do that, we have to be, we have to be open and honest about that.
Yeah, we've got another question from Sebastian. What are you doing to address the pandemic-related stress that is driving teachers out of the field this year?
Yeah. Again, I think that exactly what we're doing today is we're figuring out. So when we're having days, like to this afternoon, I only have, 5 new that we hired this spring, but we'll use central office to go and sub for them because they get stressed about a sub, right? So if it's someone that's coming in from central office that they know, like it's an instructional coach, I'm learning from them, like I'm already partnering for them, like being able to have that release time in their classroom is super helpful for them. And so like they can come to us, and we do, like today I'm talking to the new teachers about stress. Like I'm specifically, one of the things you get is that through this training you can purchase like the new teacher books. So like we give them, again, I don't make any money off of this. It's just really good stuff. But it's this book and we give it to them, and they, we reference it all year long. It's really great stuff in there. I think that's super helpful. We obviously have done some pay incentives. We do some asynchronous days that, we went ahead and chose to have longer school days this year, and have less student days so that we could give our teachers those breaks along the way. So we are putting materials out there for kids during that day. They can come to school and work on those materials and like be in the cafeteria and the library, but our teachers are planning and prepping those days. So those are just a few of the things that we, right offhand, but I think you'll see some other things in the presentation that will also speak to that. Any other conversations or questions, Lauren?
Nothing at this time.
So moving on to Locked on Excellence. So this is another one that we took the lead on, and it is paying our student teachers. So we definitely have jumped on the T-Class Decision 5 bandwagon. I don't know if anybody else has done this. This is something we partnered with Texas State. The 2020, 2021, we had 13 residents. So basically what it is, and actually the first year, we didn't even pay them because we didn't have T-Class money to do it with, right? So it was just this partnership that we had with Texas State. It's a year-long internship. So basically they're coming to our schools, they're taking classes a couple of days, and then they are in our schools the other days, and they're going ahead and they're working with their cooperating teacher. So they're already in those classrooms, they're getting to know the kids, they're working with the kids. And then in the spring, they do their more of traditional student teaching, but it's with those particular it's in those same classrooms. And we've had super success with that. Out of the 13 residents that we had in our schools last year, we were able to hire 8 of those. So that's been a significant pipeline for us to grow our own and get our own teachers. And we've had them for a year, right? Like they've had a year-long, job interview. And so we know what they're getting. They're indoctrinated into Lockhart ISD. They know our kids, they know our programs. And I have to say, like the data, the student data has been significant on these 8 teachers, because they are not, while they have some first-year teacher, tendencies still, they are ahead of the curve, and we're super pleased with that. This year, because of T-Class, we were actually able to, in January, present them with $20,000 checks, right? So they're going to get paid for their student teacher internship. And so that's been significant. This year, we have 16 residents. And so we look, again, that's going to be our pool that we're going to be able to hire, hopefully, any openings that we have. If you're not already in this process, I'm happy to walk you through this. So shout out, let me know. This was significant. But the thing that we did do is in the spring of 2021, I don't know about y'all, but we've had bilingual teacher shortages. You saw our data on the number of bilingual teachers that increased. So one of the things that we decided to do is we said, we're going to pay our bilingual student teachers, because we weren't getting any bilingual student teachers. Because what we know what's happening is that our bilingual teachers, a lot of them are coming from other areas to come to school here, and they can't afford to stay here to do their student teaching, because you can't work most of the time and do your student teaching. So we this past fall, before T-class even came out, we actually went and advertised to Texas State and said, we will pay you to do your student teaching. And so we got our first group. So in the spring of 2021, we had 0 bilingual student teachers, and that had been our trend. When we announced this in the fall of 2021, I only asked the board for 5 bilingual stipends. I was able to get 4 of those. We paid them about $10,000 for their student teaching. We basically paid them the amount that you would pay us like a teacher aide. And out of those 4, we hired all 4 of them for the spring of 2022. So I had vacant bilingual positions that we weren't able to fill. We were using, waivers and everything else for those positions. And I was able to hire all 4 of those this spring, who I'll be working with this afternoon. So super excited about that. For this spring, I got 8 bilingual student teachers. So we went from 0 last spring to 8 because we're paying them. So I had to go back to the board and say, like I said, we were so successful. I said to the superintendent, can you think I can ask for more? And he's like, let's do it. So I just launched it out there and I said, if you want a student teacher, come. I was prepared to ask for as many as I could get, and we got 8. So hopefully our trend will stay true, because we'll need those 8 bilingual student teachers, and we'll be able to pay them as well. So these are 2 different programs. The student residency we were doing last year, we weren't paying them. We were able to pay them this year because of T-class. But we also launched this bilingual one that we are paying them. And now it's only a semester student teaching. It's back to like the normal student teaching, but we paid them because we needed them. And it was a way to recruit. Questions?
So quick reminder, we've got 4 minutes left.
Oh my goodness.
Sebastian popped another question in the chat. I understand you're using paraprofessionals for an early reading tutoring program. Have you ever considered supporting those paraprofessionals to become certified teachers?
Yeah, we definitely do that as well. So we do have a grow your own program with those groups. That's T-class. I think it's decision 4. Like we signed up for all the T-class. What can I say? But we already were doing that, but now this is specific with like giving them release time and some of those kinds of things. So absolutely.
Then a question from Joseph. Apologize if I've missed it, but have you described your new Lever Leader position program?
Yeah, let me get to that real quick since I only have like 3 minutes. So unlocking the potential. One of the things that we do is that we created this high potential, which couples with lever leaders. So we want our classroom teachers to stay, like our best teachers to stay in the classroom. And a lot of times, one of the reasons that we know that they leave to go into administration is because of the money, right? And so we created this high potential process, which I don't really have time to go into, but if you're interested in how we did this to really be able to identify who our leaders are in Lockhart that we are going to focus on and provide supports to move on, we have a whole process for this. Again, we launched this in the middle of the pandemic, and we paused and said, should we do that? And we said, yeah, we've got to keep moving. And I think, again, it really helped with our retention, because even our other teachers felt like, okay, they're paying it forward. Like they believe in me and I can be success and have longevity in this district. But one of the things that we did, this is our 2nd year of this. We launched it last year. We created these lever leader positions. And so basically they're 50% class load. There are highly experienced and effective teachers. There are high potentials. We know that one of the biggest areas that they're going to have help and support on, and that we provide them with that in that high potential model, is coaching. Like they don't know how to coach other teachers. And so we have a big emphasis on that. But they lead a team or a grade level. They coach teachers one-on-one. It's a campus-wide leadership role. They're not administrators. They're not doing discipline. They are, it's based on a Denver model that, that we're the only organization in the country that like one person has to, evaluate so many people. And so it becomes check boxes. It doesn't become about growing and helping them get better at their craft. And so that's what we're trying to do is spread that model out, that shared leadership model, so that we are being able to coach and develop our teachers. And who's better to do that than our most effective teachers in the district? That the reason, they just need some support in how to do that a little bit better. I've said a lot, but I know that there's probably a lot of questions about this too.
Yeah, we've got another question in the chat. Do you also offer programs for teachers to earn their master's degree? If so, are there any teachers who have taken advantage of that?
Yeah, we launched Emergent Leaders, and I didn't even put that in here. I forgot about it. But we do Emergent Leaders. We do 3. So we have a partnership with Texas State. We pay for half of their masters. They pay for the teachers pay for the other half of their masters. And so again, that's different than Lever Leaders, because these people are people that we're grooming to be assistant principals in the district. We did 3 2 years ago. We did 3 more